All right, we are live. Greetings, fellow traders. Hope everybody's having a blessed weekend. And yeah, let me get this tweeted out here. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Good, good, good. Yeah, so I'm gonna have to do a sound check here. I guess let's see, because the other day the microphone was off. So when you get it, just let me know if you can hear me. So yeah, so good stuff. Wow. I mean, I just did a video on, for the positive trend subscribers on, trading the VIX and how to actually trade the VIX and the different VIX products that are out there, and a couple different strategies to use for that. And I literally was looking at, we were up or we were down only like 0.75 or something, or even like a quarter, right? And then I just was pulling up, and I was like, wait a minute, maybe this is delayed data. I was like, because now it's saying we're down 16. And I just looked. Apparently, we just took a little bit of a nosedive there. So I don't know if any news came out just now or anything after hours, but that was a sharp reversal right there off of the on the ES. So I mean, basically, let's see what it did. It was trying to get above the cloud here, and then oof, just like that. So big volume too came in as well. So that is pretty interesting stuff. So not a lot of heads up on that either. So I mean, you kind of just trend line this and kind of look right here. I mean, that was basically your first line there, and then you can kind of enter under that second bar. But yeah, that kind of just crept up on it too. That was pretty interesting. So it looked like it was just going to be a slow night, and then boof, just like that. So so good stuff. Well, hopefully everybody can hear me. So at this point, let's kind of take a look and to see where we're at with the overall market. Obviously, being down 16 on the ES is not going to be a good start to the week. So it's just kind of one of those things. But I mean, honestly, you kind of look back and you look at everything, see where we're at. It's not entirely surprising everything that happened. We reviewed a lot of this in our newsletter. So let's just kind of take a look here. Oh, I thought I was on SPX. They look very similar though. So. But basically, yeah, so here's the monthly chart on SPX, and what we see is the prior month, right, in July, is we see a bit of a topping tail right over the upper Bollinger Band, right, on the monthly chart, which is pretty rare. And so now, granted, it wasn't a full shooting star or anything like that, but that topping tail was enough to see where we kind of came down. And this, the reason it pushed down is the last day of the month of July was Fed Day, right, and then I guess the rate cut was basically sell the news type stuff, right, and so some are saying now that it's like, well, if they're not going to do any more rate cuts, well, that's not good enough, right? And so flush, right? So that's kind of the idea. Well, here we are, kind of continuation into that. And really, guys, I mean, so far, I mean, it's really no big deal, right? I mean, it's not October, it's not December, and it's not even May yet. I mean, the range of this month is 99 points, right? Which is big in any sense, but here, I mean, we're talking the range was double that, right? I mean, and it was full bodied here, right? This is 203 points, right? So so it still has a little while to go, to get really super bearish. But we kind of look back at it. I mean, here's where we're at, right? So we we've tested the kind of like, even if we push down here, we're still not even back to the mid Bollinger Band on the weekly chart, right? And the daily is below the lower Bollinger Band. And a lot of times, here we wait for RSI to get a little bit more oversold. You can see back here in May, we're below the lower Bollinger Band, right? And it was a, very, very oversold area on the RSI. Then we got a nice bounce up. We'll take a look at a couple other ways to look at that today. But anyway, it's kind of where we're at. Okay, great. Thanks, Jason. Thank you. I'm like checking back now, making sure everything's going through okay. So, good. So here we go. This is a just a quick look. These are the levels and the trend lines that we look at. Positive trend subscribers get to look at these. So we have we had this really downward trend line that we were looking at from from Thursday, kind of going into Friday, right? And we kind of tested this a couple times, right? And you could see each time, right, that it got weaker as it kind of came through these levels, right? And then it finally found a little bit of support here, pretty close to the S2 line, right? Gave a breakout bar right here, right, which caused a minor pivot, and then a nice move up. Now, it doesn't seem like much, right, these two bars right here, but those two bars there were over 100% move on options, right, on Friday. They kind of came back, held again, right, and then, even if held through here, right, these ended up, obviously being a little bit more of a gain on that. And then here, finally, that final spike was pretty ridiculous. I think they went from $20 to like over 20 cents to over like $2 here. So so big spike at the end of the day on Friday, but that kind of brought us into the close, a little bit of a down move, then an up move, and then kind of blah, right? So it's kind of where we're at. So So at this point, let's take a look at where we're at overall on the daily chart. So these are kind of like the key lines that we look at, kind of going through the year. These are like the macro lines, right? And anytime you have a big down move, especially after a big Fed meeting or something like that, we need to look to see where we're at, right? So here you can see going through 2018, right? We've been following this yellow channel here, down all the way back up to the top of the channel, down at the bottom of the channel, right? Down, right? And then it finally broke down here. Then we had our Christmas reversal, back up to the channel, right? And now we're up at the top end of the channel, right? So, channel breakouts are rare, and they take work, right? They build energy. So this one possibility here is that what we're doing is we're building up energy to kind of just slowly work our way up out of the channel, right? So here, it tried to break out of the channel here, failed, almost got through, came back up again, and then finally pushed, right? So we've barely even tagged the top of the channel here. You can see here it tagged it twice. Now, it's barely even tagged it this first time. So, it was rejected in general by this zone. We had the pitchfork, this macro pitchfork, the macro pitchfork, this midpoint zone. We kind of tagged those areas, kind of came back down again. Now, this prior all-time high here is a significant zone, and then obviously we were rejected at this level again, and then it became support. So we're now in that support zone again. So we'll see how well this holds. Obviously with futures, down 20, down 22 points. That's gonna be a rough morning if it stays there. So down 22 points, that's a little bit of a different story, right? So we might see now a push down. The next level is really this pitchfork zone, right? We have a little bit of congestion right here at the 28.94. If it goes down even farther, right, 28.94, and then possibly the 28.50s might find a little bit of support at the pitchfork area. So really, really interesting stuff there. So what can we do and that leads us to the discussion of this week, right? And I think it's appropriate, right? Because the market's going down. I'm not saying it's any sort of bear market or anything like that, but certainly, when we're at the top of the channel, right, it makes sense to get a little bit of a pullback, right? So what are other indicators that we can use to kind of evaluate the market strength and kind of see what's going on? And a really great one is the McClellan oscillator. And so the McClellan oscillator was originally developed by Sherman McClellan, and I've got the links to the actual Sherman McClellan's and Tom McClellan's website, the McClellan Financial Publications. They've got all sorts of other stuff too, that are on there. But within their website, they have the McClellan oscillator and a bunch of other things too. So it's kind of like a subscription website with all sorts of neat stuff, DVDs and stuff like that. So you can read a little bit more about there. You can get kind of more updates on it. But in general, honestly, it was only available kind of free through like stockcharts.com. I think there's a couple other places, and you really couldn't find it on Thinkorswim. And I also have more of a definition of it too. So anyway, I'll talk about that in a minute. But it wasn't available in Thinkorswim, and now it is. So that is really, really awesome. So I'm pretty excited about that. So we're going to take a look at that here. So the McClellan oscillator, right now I've got stochastic fast here. And so stochastic's really great for evaluating kind of like areas on pitchforks, right? Where, we could be getting, kind of resistance. And you can even see here we're at the top of the channel, this midpoint line. The stochastic was kind of up here, and it kind of made sense for a little bit of a pullback. But let me take this off right now, and I'm going to pull up the McClellan oscillator. Okay, so I'm going to delete the stochastic. I'm going to just type in Thinkorswim. I know you can't see me typing this, but in fact, let me show it here where it is. So I'll go here. I'll go studies. So it comes in the pop-up. Add study. We'll just go all, and we'll go M for McClellan oscillator. So right there. So we'll click that. Okay, and then I'll go back in. I'll remove the stochastic. Okay, like that. All right, so in general, what this is showing right now is that it's not ratio adjusted. Okay, so basically there's two ways. If you go to the stockcharts.com, it'll show you the ratio adjusted version. So you can trade this basically just like any other oscillator, right? So it's like you have the 100 level and the minus 100 level. So if it gets over the 100 level, you're overbought. If you're under it, it gets oversold, right? That's kind of the idea. But if you kind of look at it, it really only helps when it hits like really, really extreme levels, right? Like down here, right, was the kind of the Christmas reversal zone, right? And then other than that, I mean, kind of here-ish, maybe here, but it's a little bit difficult, right? So then maybe here, but it was, and then went all the way up to overbought, but it was going down during that whole period, right? So it was like, okay, that doesn't really help me. So what we want to do is, and I'm going to try to show this if I can. Give me 1 second. Let me do the pop-up window here so you can see it. So I'm going to do studies. I'm going to go edit studies. and then I'm going to click on the actual McClellan oscillator here, and I'm going to pop it up, and I'm going to show you what I'm looking at. So give me 1 second as I load this up. So add source, screen, window, and let's see if I can find edit studies. Maybe this is it. McClellan oscillator customizing. Okay, so you guys can see this here. So now I'm in the McClellan oscillator screen. All you do is you click on the the studies, and then you go to the little widget on the side to edit it, right? So right here it says ratio adjusted, and that says no. Okay, so we want to make that yes. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you what happens when we make it yes. Okay, so we go like this. I'm going to hit OK. Then I'll apply that. Now I'm going to get rid of the edit studies thing. So give me a second. Okay, back to normal screen. And here we go. So now it's ratio adjusted. So now this is the one that you would see on like stockcharts.com or something like that. Okay, so now it looks a little bit different, right? So now it shows the 100 is actually their ratio adjusted. So we're up over 100. Now it gets like kind of the overbought area. Now we're under 100. That's really oversold, right? So that's very, very rare. That was the Christmas reversal right there, right? So that kind of shows you a new scaling of it. And right now it's at minus 41, 0.9. Okay, so it's nowhere close to minus 100, right, which is the the oversold area. And so basically there's two ways you could look at it, right? So one is, okay, well, maybe it's just working its way down there, right? And so yeah, and that is a possibility, right? So what we do then is we look for areas where it makes sense to either potentially go short or go long using this. And so let me show you a couple of different tools that are pretty neat. So I mean, here you can see this thing screamed up like in this level, right? And then it kind of came back down while it was still going up. So how do we deal with that, right? So here's a couple of ways that we could do it. And so this is pretty cool. So one of the ways is using trend lines. In fact, this is a great way to do it. So here you go. So anytime you find a minor peak, this is just using our trend line tools like we normally use, right? You go to a high, you go to a low, you find the next level that doesn't intersect other levels, and as soon as you break through that level, then you have a chance to go long if you get a push over that level, or a minor pivot of that level. So here, just as a look here, you had a big pivot here, a big pivot here, and so what you could do is you draw a trend line from here to here and kind of go through and wait till you get a crossover, okay? And so at this point, right, now you kind of follow this around. Now we're here on January 2nd, and look at that. That helped us through the, this little bit of a pullback right here. A little bit of a hold there. So it kind of came back, right, retested this minor peak right here, and that's your breakout point right there, kind of over this level, right? Okay, minor peak and then down, right? So you could either trade the break out of the McClellan oscillator or look for like a little peak and then the breakout of that peak. So that would kind of be that level there. You still have to use price action off of the regular chart, right? And then from there it was smooth sailing essentially, right? So obviously there's some pullbacks, but you can see the McClellan oscillator was pulling back while the market was still going up, right? And what it does, and now we can kind of talk a little about what the McClellan oscillator actually is calculating. So it's a breadth indicator, and it basically does the difference between the number of advancing stocks and the number of declining issues, the number of declining stocks essentially. So there's a calculation that they use, and I have the link in here. It uses the 19 EMAs of the advancing minus the declines, and the 39 EMAs, right? And of the advancing minus the declines. So and it subtracts the two of them, right? And then it tells how they calculate each of those. So there's it's a big formula that they use, right? So but that is essentially what it looks like. So the keys are, when do we get to these levels, right? And is it at a key level, right? Is it somewhere, of importance, right? So, and that's just kind of what we have to look for. We have to look for these areas. So, for instance, if we saw the McClellan oscillator get under minus 100 and we were at, this pitchfork level, well, that might be a good place to potentially look for a reversal, right? Or if we saw it get to minus 100 back at the channel level, that's another place to look for a reversal. So these are just key areas to look for. So, another area as well, so we could kind of look at here. So, when we started coming back down back in May, when we came down from, basically from May to June, one kind of area to look at again, is your trend line, right? So, this is, an area right here. So we started to break below it here, right? But we never got like another minor pivot area until here, right? So you kind of draw that minor pivot across, right? We didn't really do anything until, we finally broke down here. So there was basically an inside day there that was, potential to short. It was a little bit tricky in there. It's not using, obviously going back to price is the easiest way to do it. But this is just a way to kind of gauge it to see, how the potential strength is of a breakout or breakdown. So again, here's another one, right? Here's, all the way from this high, right, to, let's say, like this low here, right? Here's a potential breakout point right here, right? And they gave a nice move up. Here's another minor pivot high to a low. Right, there's your pivot right there, right? It tried to break out here, right? Failed, and then eventually this never put in a new low, so it had to break over this pivot here, which was right here, and that gave the long move up. So again, it's playing games with price anyway, so it's always best to go back to price, but it is a helpful tool to look at when you start to see potential pivot points, especially when you're way over, under minus 100 or over plus 100. Those are kind of key areas to look at. If we go back, we can see it happened again here, right, in kind of this February time frame, right? So it kind of came back, still had a little more room to go, right? So again, what we want to do is look for, let's see if there's any other like spikes back here. Not really. So what we would do is look for either this, kind of breakout point here. We had a minor pivot here through that line, right? That little pivot right there. So when we finally got through there was kind of your area where you'd consider going long, right? So it does help. And then here's another, just kind of see what that looks like there, here, right? And then once you get over this minor pivot, you can consider going long here. Didn't get much, got a little bit of a spike out of it. But again, you're kind of in the middle of the range. So just something to keep an eye on. This was a nice move right there. So, again, you got to look for those pivots. You got to look for the spikes and all that stuff. And you can, as long as it corresponds with price and it makes sense, then it's worth, kind of looking at and trying. So at this point now, this is where we're at now. You kind of had this minor pivot here, not really much going on. Gave you a little bit of a move there, nothing kind of going on. So if you did anything, you would look for the break of this minor pivot. So you go here from low to high. All right, a little bit of a move there. Okay, here's your minor pivot. Right, you can see this level is pretty important. That minor pivot level right there. Okay, tried to break down right here, right? Failed, and this is finally your breakdown point right through here. So, I mean, again, easier to use trend lines, right? Because we go back to the actual trend lines here on the daily, right? We just go here, go to your high, go to your pivot. There's your minor pivot. There's your line, right? We do it on the video. We do it with boxes, right? Just to kind of show. Just go straight to the source. Just go to price, right? There's your minor pivot. Boom, boom. So, I mean, the McClellan Oscillator is cool, and it is great for being like, okay, when is this going to be over, right? Like remember back in December, it's like, okay, well, how about, kind of now, that type of thing. So when you get under the minus 100. So anyway, that's pretty much it. So hopefully you guys found that helpful. At this point, if anybody has any questions or chart requests, please feel free to plug those into the chat window. And we'll get through as many as we can. We'll try to wrap up by 10:30 so we get a good night's sleep, because it looks like we're going to have a fun trading week this week again. The only thing that is tough with the market going down is premiums get really high because the IV goes up, right? So, so if you have a margin account, right? You can't do it in a cash account, and you can sell, put spreads, things like that. Sometimes that's something to consider, so you can capitalize, on the way down. So when the reversal does come, that you can, when you're buying a reversal, you can take advantage of the high premiums. Just, something to kind of keep in mind. But anyway, good stuff. Jason, good evening. Thank you. Thank you for letting me know the sound is good. Sarah, good evening. Casey, Shirley, how's it going? Good to see you. Jay Shelton, hello, hello. Wendy, good morning. I hope everything's going well in Singapore. Heather, good evening. Jason, USDCNH breached 7. Not a good sign. Yeah, I see what you're saying. The US dollar. Gotcha. Yeah, probably not a good sign at all. Definitely one to keep an eye on. Let's see. Live. Hold on, my chat stuff is coming through. Okay, good. Albert, what's happening? Good to see you. Yeah. So let's go. Let's take a look at Disney and see how that's looking. So Disney has earnings this week, guys. That's going to be very, very interesting. So that is a fun one for this week. And so right now, Disney, as you can see from this low to this high, here's your recent minor pivot. Okay, we are breaking down below that this trend line. So a breakdown below this low could see a push to the downside. Now, whether that's going to happen, this week, I don't know. If earnings are good, it's all good, right? We just push up, probably break through, get new highs. So that would be good. I would have to imagine they beat. I mean, they've only had like the most successful movies ever like this quarter, so I'd have to imagine it'd be pretty good. I don't know. We'll see. McDonald's actually had a green day on Friday. But we knew it was going to, right, for the most part. Remember this green channel here? It's been just following this channel for the longest time. And remember, guys, I wanted to short at 218. We've been talking about it for a while, and there it was, 218. It came all the way down to the bottom of the channel. So am I shorting it now? No, because we got to the bottom of the channel. Nice constructive move here off of this channel. So we'll definitely keep an eye on McDonald's. They did... It looks like, they missed on earnings. I think they had some good stuff on earnings. I heard some good stuff on their conference call. Anyway, big move here off the lower channel. I would anticipate probably like a consolidation day, maybe another push down to the channel, and then, kind of start to work its way back up. So we'll definitely keep an eye on that. Visa. Visa. Let's see. So Visa has been really hanging on to this fib fan line that we've been working here for a while. So it's kind of the low end of that, gave a nice bottoming tail at that area. So I think Visa does have a chance to potentially work its way up. Just be careful here swinging through ex-dividend. I know it's in a couple of weeks, but it might still get a little bit of a spike before that, and then might pull back their ex-dividend and then give another move to the upside. So something to keep an eye on there. Jason, what's happening? Can we look at Amazon, Apple, QCOM, and Splunk? Absolutely. So let's take a look at Amazon. So Amazon, guys, is on the reversal radar, but it does not seem to be want to do it, right? I've seen a lot of information about, Bezos selling some shares and all that stuff. So, like 1.6 billion or something like that. So, is what it is. I'm sure he's got trillions. So, it's like a drop in the pond. But here it is. It is still continuing down this trend line, which is great because eventually it's going to give us a nice reversal, right? So we don't get too many nice pullbacks like this. So again, let's just follow this downward trend line. As long as we're below it, right? It's downward until, it's down until proven otherwise. And then we just have to wait and see if it'll give us a nice, consolidation area at this fib fan line perhaps, and then a little minor pivot, through that trend line, then a push to the upside. So that would be huge, right? I mean, guys, these things can't go forever, right? I mean, they just, just is what it is, right? Everything moves in waves, up, down, right? Up, down. I mean, so, it's just every time there's a pullback, everybody's like, oh no, blah, blah. Yeah, I mean, this is great for us. This gives great opportunities, right? So it's just not ready yet, right? So we just have to wait for it to be ready, or look for tactical shorting opportunities. So swinging short is always tough, but if you can find a good setup, right, it could still work. So that's that. Let's take a look at Apple. Apple is kind of here's your minor pivot right below this upward trend line. So right there. So we took that down on Friday. So again, it could continue to cascade down. So the trend is now down, so at this point, so we just have to kind of see how it works. To me, it seems like it could work its way down to this Fibonacci arc level, which is kind of like this 176, maybe 178 area. But we'll see, right? It might kind of come down to like 194, it's got like a little bit of, kind of support here. Kind of in this area, right? So it might find a little support here and then work its way back up. So I do think it has more downside though, and obviously with the futures down, it kind of it could gap down tomorrow too. So QCOM, let's take a look. Inside day on Friday after not the best showing right at earnings, but it's hard to keep QCOM down for whatever reason. It doesn't want to break. So just look for a breakout above Friday's high, and it could do something. I mean, it's QCOM, so inside day up. And SPLK. Splunk. This has been tough. This has been a tough one to trade, but you've got here, right, here's your minor. Cancel that, activate. So there we go. There's your high. There's your pivot. Right here's your minor pivot area, right? Your box around that. Here, right? Kind of minor pivot area. Try to get below there. That actually ended up being the pivot. There, breakdown, there on Friday. So big push down on Friday. So now bearish until proven otherwise, right? So at this point, we just have to wait and see. It is possible. You could look for kind of short setups, right? Intraday, or it might give you like an inside 60, under the VWAP. It could give you a nice push down, something like that. So something to keep an eye on there. Hey James, how's it going? Hey, thanks for tuning in. Be sure to subscribe. So we do this every market night. So definitely, tune in and show us some good, put some chart requests, ask questions, whatever. So yeah, Chewy, thank you for bringing that up. I have a dog named Buddy, and this is his favorite stock. So he's really rooting. He's trying to get this thing to go up. So, but the good news is it did put a minor pivot above this downward trend line from its IPO time. So it is trying to work its way up. It is here. I mean, technically it's starting at a new downtrend, but if it could possibly get above Wednesday's high, we might have something going on. So this is kind of the key box right here, right now. That actually was the key box right there. So right now it's kind of working its way down out of this box. It could kind of come down, test this 31 level. If it did get strong and got above that, kind of 35.50 and push, right, then we could see, past 36, maybe work its way up. So it is kind of working its way down right now. So, we just have to look and see if it, if it holds anywhere. Right now it's at the 15 orb low from its, kind of IPO, or I think it's earnings low. Just kind of see if these levels hold. And at this point, but it is bearish until proven otherwise. So that's that. Yeah, let's take a look here. Here's cool. This is a tough one to day trade, guys. It gets a little spready, right? Sometimes it's like 10-cent spreads, and then they jump to like 20 or 30-cent spreads, like when you're in it, and it can be really tough to day trade. If you can get a good swing opportunity on it, certainly that could give some hope. It does have earnings coming up on the 8th, so that is something to keep an eye on. We did recently do a trend line on this one, so you can see it was downtrending, right? So at this point, it's kind of trying to work its way up, but it has to get over that 12. If it can get over 12, then it can work its way up to 16 potentially. So we kind of have that there. But yeah, James, thanks for tuning in. Cool one. What's happening? FTNT had a good year. Yeah, thanks for bringing that up. So FTNT. Let's see. Yeah, big move right there. Bit of a pullback, guys. This classic gap and go type stuff. This is stuff we look at in the live stream. I do a live stream, in the positive-trends.com group every market open, and I also am live at the close too. But you can see here, this is really key level, right? This is what I call the GG1, the gap and go 1 level, and so you can see here that high was 88.32. Yeah, so to see, 88.34 is pretty close. So let's kind of zoom in here and just see what it did Friday. Yeah, so you can kind of see it got through all its levels. It couldn't quite push through its first 3-minute bar, pulled back a little bit. I like how it eventually got over the VWAP, gave you an inside bar right here, and that kind of pushed up right there. So that was at 89 and got all the way up to like 92 area, and then it kind of pulled back a little bit. So right now it's kind of floating under its VWAP there. It closed underneath its 15 orbs, so it's a little bit of a bearish move. So yeah, so good earnings, but just be careful. Just be careful. It might pull it. It has to hold, like all its kind of gap areas. This 85, that looks pretty important. This 85.34 area is kind of a key zone, right? So just this area right here is important for it to hold this whole kind of thing. So it has to hold that. If it breaks below there, then I think we could test that back down to 83, right? And then if it gets down there, it'll probably eventually fill its gap. But so just be careful of that. It has to hold these levels. So Wendy, Microsoft, let's take a look. MSFT, Mr. Softy. Okay, so Microsoft holding its lower Bollinger Band there. Let's take a look here. Yep, it is back below the channel, right? So this has been, it's just like McDonald's had its channel. Microsoft also has its channel that it's been working on. So one little breakdown through that channel up, and it's been holding kind of these levels right now. But now it is having some trouble. So again, it looks like this level, this 135 level, is really key for it to hold. so see if it can kind of hold this zone right here. If not, and it breaks below that, it could start filling some gaps and stuff like that. So just be careful with that. Square. Square was fun to trade. We called this one out in the live stream on Friday. This obviously gap down, right? So this is one to look to for some potential weakness. Possible 30 orb on Monday, tomorrow. If we go back to the price action, this is what we looked at on Friday. So it really was kind of just moving straight down, right, into the open. Found a little bit of support here. This is the GG1 line right here. And so this, just so you can kind of see on the daily what that meant. The GG1 is a potential pivot level that if it broke down below that, it could gap and go down, right? So it had a couple gaps down here. So if it got below this level right here, that was kind of key. So it couldn't break below that, but it tried. And so we took an entry here, or I pointed out the entry here at this inside 3, right, as we got down below that cap and go on. We got a nice little move there, and folks profited from it, and that was great. But it didn't want to go much farther, right? So kind of just trail it down and you take your profit here. It still worked well. It wasn't quite a double, but it was pretty close on the options. Kind of came back in, held that GG1 level, basically for the rest of the day. So it did close above it. So we'll see. But if it gets weak tomorrow, this is one to look at because of the down move. So something to keep an eye on. But if it pushes back above that cloud, right, it might see kind of a working its way back to the upside. So just keep an eye on that. And then Netflix, I'm now part of the Netflix queue. I think this thing is eventually going to go bankrupt and go to zero. But we'll see. I'm sure it won't do it straight that way. So anyway, here's the downtrend, right? This is all the way from before earnings, right? So this, intersected all these lines before earnings right here. And so it's really respecting that gap down, right? Had a nice reversal, a couple weeks ago. And then, and now it's just kind of still holding that downward trend line. It's not getting above. It gave a little bit of a hammer here, but until it gets over and gives you a nice minor pivot, right, below this downward trend line, right, that not a place to go long yet. All right, so it's not out of the woods yet. It's still holding that downward trend line. So just be careful with that on Netflix. So this one, how's it going? JPM and GS? Yeah, let's take a look. Ooh, look at that. JP Morgan just bounced right down to the trend line. I didn't even see this weekend. So, here you had, this is a little bit adjusted, but you get the idea. Here's your high. There's your minor pivot right there, right? So held here, right? Came right down to that trend line and held, got over the lower Bollinger Band, and is actually looking pretty good. If it can get over this 113, 113.10, it might start to work its way back up again. But again, if the market's weak, typically the finance will be weak too. So just keep that in mind. It might not hold that. But those levels are key. Very, very similar here with Goldman, except it didn't hold a trend line. It actually pushed through it, gave you a minor pivot here, and then gave another push. But it held a lower Bollinger Band as well. So just keep an eye on that. If the market's weak, continue to work itself down. Maybe 199 might even test this cloud here somewhere too. And could, once everything kind of clears up over the next week or so, could start to work its way back up again too. Lots of pullbacks here given for nice long setups in the future. We just have to wait for everything to calm down. Right, let's get that VIX below the 60 cloud, right? And then we'll look for our long entries. So, Shirley, I hope you had a great weekend. SBMK. Okay, let's take a look. SBMK. Okay, yeah, that's a nice one. Very nice. Let's see, we had some Fibonacci's on this. Oh, this is the, yeah. There's your Fibonacci from the. It's got to get over 20, Shirley. Once it gets over 20, you got some chance. You got a shot there. This is that IPO. So yeah, just be careful that you could get some resistance there at its high of 20. So if it can't get over 20, watch out. KR. Yeah, but nice move on those earnings there. Yeah, KR is looking pretty good. Watch out, you got ex-dividend coming here. So that is on the 14th. But yeah, it looks like it could push. It got over a couple key levels here. It needs to get over, the fib fan line. Then it could start working its way back up there. So that looks good. No problem, Kuwant. My pleasure. Sure. CBWFT. I have a feeling that's not going to show up. Yeah, not that one. RDFN. Redfin. Ooh, yeah, that was a strong one. Oh, yeah, it closed on its highs, too. I like that. Yeah. That's looking good. Let me get the trend line here. Here. Yeah. Yeah. That's looking really good. I really like that one. Possible target is that 22. It's got a little air pocket right here. If we can get through that, it's got a good shot on that one. I like that. You gave me a lot tonight. Let me skip over a couple of these here. Let's jump down to CNK. Cinemark, nice. Yeah, possible bump and run, type situation working here, but yeah, did well on earnings, held up pretty well over its volumetric resistance. Has a chance. Just watch the potential bump and run pullback. BLDP. Ballard Power, nice. I like it. Bullish until proven otherwise. Looking good. MGI. Oof. Yeah, I mean, this is one of your penny ones. These are always tough for me to kind of evaluate here. But yeah, if it gets over Friday's highs, it could continue to watch. MoneyGram, isn't that funny? CBLK. Another nice move on Friday. You're finding all the ones that were green. This is great. Just be careful of the bump and run here. So, but yeah, it could continue to work its way up. TWM. Yeah, this looks like one they just try to keep down, Shirley. I don't know. Just yeah, your ultra short Russells. Yeah, I mean it could spike, but just be careful. Don't swing this too long, right? So yeah, especially you don't want to get caught in that. And then yeah, so there you go. Good stuff. CS Ready, what's happening? BA, yeah, let's take a look. BA. Guys, BA is almost ready. It really is. It's almost ready. It's just not ready yet. So just keep this in mind here. All right, so it's consolidating right. Here's your lower trend line. Right, had a nice day. This is one of the only green stocks, Dow, the biggest green stock on Dow on Friday. Held over this kind of volumetric level right here. So it just has to get through this trend line, right? That needs an alert on it. Okay, gets through that trend line, gives you a minor pivot, and then it starts to work its way up. I'm going to be bullish on Boeing if it starts to do that. Dooby-dooby-doo. Zoom. Yeah, so Zoom has been fun, but it is now breaking below its trend line, right? So it's back here. I mean, that's kind of like your key level. So this is the kind of the key box right now. If it gets below this box, look out below. Then it can start filling some gaps and stuff like that. But right now, it's still trying to stay within that box. So this is what day was this? This was the 29th. So July 29th. So as long as it stays above 92.10, it has some hope to get back up. James, no problem. My pleasure. Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in tonight. Anybody who's new, please, give us a subscribe on YouTube. We do this every market night. Also, check out the links in the description. We have a link to the Twitter page. We post like cool charts and stuff like that during the day. We also have a link to our website, thepositive-trends.com. We've got all sorts of different service levels that you can sign up for. We've got a newsletter. We've got some upgrades and stuff like that. So one of them, you can kind of see my trades and go live with me at the open and the close and look, for different ideas that I point out, stuff like that. So. Good. Well, really, really appreciate everybody for tuning in. Have a great rest of your evening and get some rest so we can have an awesome trading week this week. It looks like it's going to be fun with the VIX spiky and the ES down 20 points. So that should be pretty fun. So get a good night's sleep and and I'll talk to you guys soon. So remember your risk first and stay safe so you can stay in the game. And I will talk to you guys soon.